Hey everybody, Austin here with my next episode from the Maker's Dimension. Here with me I have the L120 Pro from Dazz3d. I got this off of their Kickstarter. So they came out with the L120 Pro and they have the standard edition as well. The 120 Pro has a touchscreen on the front, auto refill, and a scraper that's supposed to go back and forth to mix your resin vat for you between layers or however often you set it to do it. So not every review I'm going to do is going to be all cheery. This is one of them. I'm going to start out with the positive things and then I'm going to go into the negative things. A lot of these negative things they have the opportunity to fix. So currently these units run a little under $1,500 shipped to the United States from China for the L120 Pro, and they're a little under $1,000 for the standard version. So this kind of puts them in the higher price point for an LCD based printer. So this is not a laser printer like the Moai or the Form. This is an LCD based printer. Your frozen shuffles, your any cubic photon, your Wanhao printers, those are all LCD based just like this. Alright, well let's get into a couple things I found right away when I opened the box that came shipped to me off of the Kickstarter. So right off the bat, I got this container sitting on top. It was the first thing I see when I open up the foam packaging. Now this box I could clearly tell wasn't opened at all prior to coming to me. But there's a few other people that also saw this when getting their printers. And to me this is just poor. But this is the container that's supposed to house all the accessories. And this whole container is completely shattered. Now the funny thing is that I didn't find any pieces of this container inside of the box, which leads me to believe that it was packaged that way. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the impression I'm getting from it. I also didn't get a lot of the items they said that we were supposed to be getting. I did receive a few later on down the road. I had ordered an extra vat for the printer. It came a couple days later. It was shipped separately. A couple other people had issues with resin, which from what I understand they're sorting it out. When it came through customs and whatnot, they didn't let them through to some countries. So they all got empty boxes. From what I understand, they're taking care of that. They've been vocal about that on Facebook, saying that they're looking into it and getting people their resin. So these are some of the things that I did get with it. So I got a wash bottle, some sandpaper. I'm assuming this is if you need to sand up your bed at all. Some people like to scuff up their bed a little bit for better adhesion for prints. I didn't have to do it. Extra screws, Allen wrenches, some filters. This is the auto refill resin cap that goes on top of your bottle. So this just pokes down on your vat. There's like a little nipple on the inside of it that pushes down onto it, and that lets the resin flow out. Some cleaning wipes and a scraper. So there were a couple items that we were supposed to get that I didn't get, which would be they had a tensioner plate for installing new FEP sheets. I guess I don't really find a use for that anyways. I kind of just do it my own way, but that was one of the items that I didn't receive. Let me get this out of the way. Alright, let's get into the printer itself. So, we'll start with the good. As far as printing goes, I'll do a couple close-ups of a couple prints I did with it. It prints really well. Let's see if I can get in there. There's a Hero Forge Mini. And a ring. Another cool feature is the front LCD screen on the L120 Pro. It's tiltable. So if you have it set a little lower on your table that you're working on and you don't want to squat down to try to see the LCD real nice, you can just pivot this and it'll give you a good view of what you're doing. That's one addition that's I really like. Another thing is this build plate that they have on here is magnetic. So it's actually got a little clip on the top. Let me see if I can focus in on it. There we go. So you flip it down and you're able to take your build plate out real easily. There's no screwing or any other messy setup that you have to do to get this on there. You just put it back on. See if I can do this one-handed. Flip up the magnets and you're good to go. Now, the resin vat has quick release tabs. So these you just pull up on, give them a twist, and you're able to remove the vat. That's kind of nice instead of thumb screws. They're just spring loaded. So your resin bottle goes in here. So you put your cap on that they supplied with you that pushes down into that nipple that lets the resin flow out. And up here you have a screw to hold your bottle in. So you tighten that up. Now right here is where your wiper goes. So here's the wiper that came with it. So this is where things start getting bad, aside from the shipping. Here's your wiper that came with it. Alright? So this sits, I'd say, roughly 4 or 5 millimeters off of the FEP sheet. Which I get it, okay, you don't want it to scratch, that sort of thing, but I would think there'd be some kind of squeegee or something on it. The whole point of it is to mix your resin up, but if you're not doing anything with the bottom of your resin, if you have pigments or anything in there that you added, I don't really see that that's going to do you any good. I don't know. Let me show you off their website and off the Kickstarter a picture of what it shows the wiper that we were supposed to be getting coming with it. So here's what it shows we were supposed to get. And this is what we got. A bent piece of aluminum or steel or whatever this is. Not even close, guys. Also, the other thing that changes significantly from the pictures that you see, and these pictures are still the most up-to-date pictures when trying to buy this printer, is these guys. Your vat retainers. So the ones they have look like they're aluminum with the thumb screw, and they fold up and down and grab onto the vat real nicely. I'm not sure which one I really prefer, but I guess the fact of the matter is the pictures don't show what you're actually getting, so be aware of that. Another issue we had was shipping, which I get, you're going to get some fallout from shipping, but a couple people had cracked acrylic. I also had cracked acrylic. Mine's not as bad as some other people's that I've seen, but it is there. I'm not going to make that big of a stink about it because it's still usable, and I'll probably just put some kind of glue or something on there, or some weld on or something to try to just make sure it doesn't split any worse. So another interesting thing they did with this printer is this is what you have for inputs on this machine. Alright, here's your power input. So it uses an AC adapter to power your printer. Now, most printers that I have, actually every single one of them, has some kind of a power switch. This guy has no power switch whatsoever. Even in the software, there's no way to shut this thing off. Now where that is a problem, is this guy's ran off of a Raspberry Pi. So as some of you know, you don't want to just pull the power on a Raspberry Pi, you're going to corrupt your SD card. Now what makes that even worse is this printer has 2 of them in there for some reason. So I'm kind of waiting to see how many people end up with corrupted SD cards after a while, because the only way to shut this thing off is to pull the power cord. Kind of an interesting decision, guys. Now, could they implement a soft shutdown or something inside of your actual firmware that you could use? They could. They should. So hopefully if you guys are watching this, Dazz3d, please implement that. A couple other issues that I have are the software. So it uses a DD starter software, which uses a proprietary file for printing. I'm just going to come out and say it. The DD starter software is complete rubbish. So you're supposed to be able to add resin profiles and tweak settings and do all kinds of other stuff with this printer. Right now, straight out of the box, if you try to do it, no way. You're not going to have any idea what's going on. A couple of guys on the Facebook page are kind of tearing down into the software firmware, and they're trying to make resin profiles that we can upload, and they're trying to figure out how we actually get these resin profiles on there. But for right now, if you want to change it, you actually have to go on your front screen and manually select. Well, mine came with 2 resin profiles, and that's their resin. So you can change the parameters of their resin inside there and save them, so it'll overwrite that resin profile, and that's what you have to do anytime you want to change resin. As far as actually adding a new resin profile through here, you can't even do that. So you can't do it through the software, you can't do it through the screen. So one thing you can do with this is you can use a different type of slicing software. So I'm big on Formware. So what I'll do is I'll upload my file into Formware, the STL or OBJ that I want to print. And I'll take that model, I'll add all the supports and do everything else, and I'll export that STL file and I'll load it into DD Starter and just slice it. So I don't have to do any type of support or any other changes inside of that software. I have had no luck with it. I don't want to use it. I hope they stray away from it. But the bad thing is again, they have that proprietary file format that right now the DD Starter is the only way you're going to be able to do anything with it. I'm hoping they open that up. To me, it would be a big win to get this proprietary file out there to some of these other slicer manufacturers. Or, I mean, if you're really adamant about using the DD Starter, do some better work on it. You know, get this thing to an actual usable software so that people might actually want to use it. Personally, like I said, I don't want to use it. I hate it. So another thing this has is your carbon filter that's supposed to take out any hazardous, you know, chemicals from going into the air and that sort of thing. As many of you know already, these things never actually work. It's quite literally a carbon pack inside of a box that sits in there with a magnet, and you turn it on and it pulls the fumes through the carbon and blows them out everywhere. So most of the time, like I know on my Photon that did that, I just took the fan completely out because I'd rather have it contained inside the unit itself than blowing out everywhere. Now I actually have a whole fume hood set up that I use that you know, eliminates that anyways, but at the time when I first got my first resin printers, I didn't have that. Quickly after like the first week I got them, I installed that, so it wasn't pleasant using these things without any kind of enclosure. The fumes are just terrible, but Alright, so there you have it. I'm going to keep it just short and sweet for you guys. Do I recommend you guys go out and buy this printer? Right now, the way it sits with the current firmware, the current slicer that you have to use, and not having a shutdown and being Raspberry Pi system, I'm going to go with a no. Now, do I think that this printer has potential? I do think it has potential. Do I think it's worth $1,500 potential? No. I have a lot of other resin printers that can more than happily do the same quality prints or better that work. They work every time. I don't have to fiddle around with other softwares. They just work. So Dazz3d group, if you're watching this, we need a way to power this down before we pull the actual main power. We need a better slicing software, or we need you to open up your proprietary files to slicers that are willing to tear down that file so that they can slice it into that file type. Firmware being a big one. I mean, it's a paid slicer, but more and more of us are jumping on that bandwagon because it's just easy to use multiple printers. And now they're coming out with support for more and more printers that are opening up their file types. And you know, for just at least change your pictures. If you're gonna send out something different than what you're showing on a website for sale, I mean, that's gonna get you in trouble eventually. Just please do yourself the favor. Change up all the photos. I mean, this is what we're getting for a wiper, guys. I mean, it's not what you guys are advertising. I don't even know what to do with this. I might try to make a squeegee, print it out, put it on here. I don't know. But it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And, you know, up your QC a little bit, because sending stuff out that's broken isn't cool. A lot of people got shipments in without any foam on the inside, so their vat was banging around and they had broken LCDs and, you know, you name it. It's a big chunk of aluminum that's flying around through shipping. Package these things better. But, alright, thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you liked the video. Subscribe to my channel if you like what you see and want to see more. Otherwise, have a good day.